Good afternoon, Rotarians. Excellent job. You're getting better. Thank you very much. Welcome to the August 22nd meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I continue to be honored and appreciate to say I'm Kevin Kassir, president of the club. We didn't have a greeter today, so as a reminder, when you walk out this door, take a look at the table and get your name down for a future meeting greeter. It's an important part of us moving forward as a club. We do have someone signed up for a moment of inspiration today. Our great Carl Schilling will lead us in a moment of inspiration, the four-way test, Pledge of Allegiance four-way test, and then we'll get to greet each of us, each of the members. So, Carl?
Well, thank you. Some years ago, one of my sons was in high school. He quit dating this girl, and I was puzzled as to why that was, because she was a remarkable young lady. She was a straight-A student and a talented musician, and I was speculating, and I said, well, you know, maybe he was just intimidated because she might be a little smarter and more talented than he was. And my wife looked at me and said, well, you got used to it. And I have. And one of the smart things I did, of course, was get her to marry me, and had all of that to my benefit. Rotary has done, in a way, the same thing when they opened up membership to women, and we all know how well that worked out. It's been great. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that those countries who are the most impoverished and backward are also the ones who discourage the talents and initiative of the female half of their populations. And I'm saying all this, I'm building all up to this, that Monday is Women's Equality Day. And it's not a splashy holiday. We'll still get our mail. And I don't know of a lot of events that are happening. But it did seem to me that it would be a good time, sometime on Monday, to maybe sit back and remember the advice Abigail Adams gave to John as he went to the Capitol to be a president. And that was, remember the ladies. Now, if you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right.
My daughter Leah is in jazz president.
No, I'm not a singer. I'm a retail buyer for the Grand Ole Opry, so yeah. Yes, so it's Random Hospitality is the overarching company, and then under that umbrella is Opry Entertainment Group, which has all the entertainment venues, which is the part of the business that I work under.
has to see you.
That was great.
All right. We have several guests today, I'm pleased to say. So we'll get started with the introduction of our guests. We would ask you to, when I call your name, to stand and remain standing, and then we will recognize you all as a group. So the first guest we have is Lee Gandy, the fiance of our new member that we're recognizing today, Susie Willems. We have Matt Kiernan, Senior Sales Manager at Prairie Meadows, a guest of Chris Anderson. We have Jen Miller. We're going to still call you a guest, Jen, but she's put in her application to become a member of our club. We'll become a member shortly, but welcome today. Good to see you and great to have you. Laura Sands, the guest and wife of Dave Busick. And we have John Waldron. We had the district governor last week, and John is with the Johnston Rotary Club and is our assistant district governor. So welcome. And then a special guest, my daughter Leah from Nashville, who's visiting this week. Leah is a buyer at the Grand Ole Opry stores in Nashville, and here to bring my grandson here this week. So this has been a fun week for me. Welcome, everybody. All right, this is a time where you get some education today. So did you know? So the first question is, can you tell me what is the happiest country in the world?
Sweden.
Denmark.
You guys are close, very close. Finland. I don't know, yeah. Isn't it dark in Finland? Anyway, they say Finland is a happy place, so there you go. Did you know number 2? So that's for those kids, there's some toothpaste. So here it is. If you guys get this one, boy, this might be one of those where I donate money to the foundation. What is the technical term for the blob of toothpaste that you put on your toothbrush? There's a technical term for that.
Blob.
No, I didn't give that. Nope. Dab? No. Okay, it looks like we're dying out on ideas. It's a nurdle. Look it up. Nurdle. A blob of toothpaste is called a nurdle. There you go. You can use that when you go home tonight. And now we'll have Mr. Steve Luton come up for his Rotarians on the floor laughing moment.
Thank you for that vapid response. You know, Salzgaber left town, so I'm here today flying solo. And when he left, he didn't leave any ideas for anything funny. So I have the unenviable task to try to provide something. Realistically, I should just introduce Mike and sit down, but we're supposed to have some fun, so here we go. Today we have a speaker who's accomplished something that's quite amazing. He runs a t-shirt company, is quite the entrepreneur. He's also one of the funniest and most clever people in the known universe. So using Mike as an inspiration is easy. The hard part is knowing what clever thing I can say, but it won't hold a candle to what Mike can do. But I'm going to try. So I looked up some catchy phrases that I thought Reagan might be able to use. Hey, come on. Okay. He doesn't have a notepad out, so I'm not too worried.
Wait a minute, there's one here.
No, wait. No.
It says newspaper. All right.
No, I ought to just sit down.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. For example, we have a casino. Why? Because we put the bluff in Council Bluffs. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's not writing. He's not writing? Okay, all right. Try this one.
What t-shirt not to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, try this one. Sioux City attorneys. We put the Sioux in Sioux City. Okay, that one didn't go over well either. Let's see. Des Moines. Somebody's got to be from there. One more, really, that's it. Travelers Insurance. We have an umbrella in Des Moines, but we don't have an office there. Which is true. It's true. Okay. Mike, he's actually writing something down, probably one of those.
See, it's harder than it looks.
So, trying to out-funny Mike is a losing proposition, so I'll just quit. Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask Bill Wright to come up, who's the chair of our membership committee. Bill?
Thanks, Kevin. As Kevin mentioned, I am your chair of membership development this year. This task, membership development, is more than just a task for myself and my committee co-chair. It is really something that I hope all of us will take to heart, as far as membership growth is really an important strategic priority for the board and for the livelihood of this club. As we have seen over the years, the trends in membership development at Rotary clubs have kind of been in the wrong direction, right? And so it is, we're making it, with Kevin's leadership, we're making this just really an important strategic priority this year to really focus on how we can get everyone involved and really kind of turn that trend line the opposite direction. So I was challenged to come up with a contest, a game, to try to encourage some participation. So we can go to the first slide here. So what I came up with, it's an Olympic year, so I thought in the spirit of the Olympic Games, we should try, I'll try to capitalize on that. I tried not to steal the original Olympic logo, so I made my own. But, avoid any trademark infringement here. But what was interesting is when I was first coming up with this idea, I thought, well, I'll play on the decathlon. There'll be like 10 events, and you can score points, and we'll have a decathlon theme. And then, shall remain nameless, but said, with this group, we need to keep this a little simpler. 10 events might be a little much, Bill. So can you kind of dumb this down a little bit? I don't know if that was the right word, but I added that. So then I decided to come with pentathlon. And that's 5 events, of course. And I took that to the group, and the group was like, 5 might be a little too much here in this example. So the next slide, I've changed the pentathlon to I don't think it's a word, a quadathon event where we're gonna have four different events to try to encourage participation to help the membership grow. So what I did is we've created 4 events, and each one has a specific task oriented with each one of them. And you'll earn points. Kitty and I are gonna keep track of these points, and hopefully maybe some others will be involved with keeping track of these points, because my final remark will be I'd like to have a membership committee with more than just a couple of us on that committee. So the first one is, if you provide a prospective member, a name of a prospective member to us, you'll earn 100 points. Another thing that we're being really intentional with this year is trying to identify companies that are in Des Moines that don't necessarily have representatives here. So we're going to be sending out some names of the companies, and we'll probably do 5, 7, 10 at a time. There'll be a series of these. And if you respond back to us, you don't have to contact anybody, just with, hey, I know so-and-so at this company. If you give us 5 of those names, we will also assign you 100 points. So that's how you can easily win 100 points. Very simple task, just send us some names. Our second event is if you take on an identified company target and recruit a new member. Looks like the R's kind of off the screen there, but if you say, hey, I'm going to contact ABC Company, I know Joe Blow there, I'm going to reach out to Joe and I'm going to actively recruit that person, 200 points, easy. Third event, bring a guest or prospective member on the Thursday lunch or another event. Also one of our social events. I know we're having isn't it our first at Freedom Blend, the morning Rotary coming up here soon. Bring a guest to that, bring a guest here. We have some with us today. Look at that, 300 points, really, really big, easy 300 points. And finally, our fourth, we have kind of two things that earn 400 points. I'm gonna thank Marnie for this idea. If you write and post on social media, LinkedIn is what she recommended, a personal testimony of what Rotary means to you and why you're here and the importance of it, 400 points. Or if you actually successfully recruit a new member, not only did you reach out, but that person signed the dotted line and filled out the application and was accepted, 400 points there. Next one. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna just tabulate these and we'll provide like a leadership slide, a leaderboard slide every month with points. And then at the very end, we're gonna have some medalists, a gold medal, whoever scores the most points, we're gonna offer a $250 gift card to the restaurant, $150 to the silver and $100 to the bronze. So we're trying to make this a fun event. We're gonna keep track of it. It's gonna be a little up to you. You're gonna have to send me an email or Kitty an email or Kevin an email. Somebody say, hey, my points didn't get tabulated for this or whatever the case might be. We're gonna do our best to keep track of this. We're really gonna have to stay involved. But I'm really excited to try to bring an event out here where we can have a little bit of fun, but ultimately the goal is to increase membership and just, you know, these Thursday meetings are the best part, one of the best parts of, in addition to all the great work we do in the community, which is that networking, and the more people we can have here, the more people we can expose our Rotary Club to, the better we're gonna be. So that's the event. I'm super excited to do it. And Kevin, anything I forgot? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bill. Now it is my pleasure to introduce speaking of membership, a new member, Susie Willems. Susie has jumped right in and is a fantastic Rotarian right out of the chute. So I have the fun facts that Susie answered. The first question was, you have a free day, what would we find you doing? Susie says some type of exercise, riding an e-bike with her fiance Lee, running, playing pickleball, golf, exploring a new restaurant, a brewery, I'll go there with you on those, or watching a documentary on Netflix with her two rescue dogs, Gizmo and Jojo Oreo.
Yep.
Where in the world have you traveled that you can't go back to? Yosemite. What's the best piece of advice that you've been given? Don't borrow trouble. I love that one because I borrow trouble all the time. What talent or skill do you possess that might surprise or delight people? She can crochet, quilt, bake bread, and says that she should have been Amish then with that skill set. A little bit about Susie. She was born and raised in Mason City, obtained her bachelor's degree and law degree from Drake University, practiced in Des Moines in healthcare, in Chicago for 10 years in insurance law, then Denver as an associate general counsel with a large company, got married, moved to Florida. After a divorce there, she decided to change her practice into family law. And so she's been going after that. In 2015, Susie met her fiance Lee, and last November they relocated to Susie's family, to Des Moines, with Susie's family to enjoy a change of seasons. And currently works at Hartung and Schrader Law Firm and an active member of the Lutheran Church of Hope. For the final question, we're asking Susie to come up and answer that and just say a few words to you directly. The question is, you're joining Rotary. What can't you wait to tell your friends about this organization?
I can't wait to tell my friends about how welcoming all of you have been. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to meet new people and to get to know everybody. I'm still a work in progress on that. I also love Rotary because of the philanthropic aspect of it. I've always been one that gives a lot of service, gives a lot of my time. And I think that this is the great marriage of both networking and service opportunities here. And that's what drew me to Rotary, and I can't wait to become more involved and looking forward to getting to know every one of you. So, thank you. I appreciate you.
And now our program committee chair, Dave Buslik, will introduce our program and actually participate a little bit as well as we mix things up. Dave?
We're going to try something a little different today. Wrapped around there really well. We're going to, Mike, come on over.
Yeah, why not?
Our guest today is Mike Draper from Raygun. Who here has ever been in a Raygun store?
The marketing's working.
Okay, that's good. We're going to do a little marketing today. And Mike is perfectly capable of giving us a normal talk from behind the podium, but I thought we would try something different today and just do it as more of a conversation or as an interview. The wonderful AV that we have here at the Embassy Club gives us only one wired mic, so we're going to have to wrestle with that a little bit. But I want, Mike, welcome.
Thanks.
We're glad that you're here. We're going to take a look at Mike's website page, which tells us a little bit about how we got started in the business post-college, but I want to start a little bit before that. I'm going to hand you the mic. I can probably holler out the questions, and I'm just
okay.
going to let you say it. So tell us a little bit about where you were born, what kind of family you were born into.
Okay. Well, in the beginning, are we here until dinner? Or? So I was born at Lutheran Hospital, which is about 6 blocks away from our store's headquarters. So geographically, I've not come very far in life. I've only made it like half a mile. And there's actually a funeral home, Hamilton's, between the store and Lutheran Hospital. So I could go cradle to grave in one tiny stretch of east side of Des Moines, which I don't know if that's an accomplishment, but it's definitely an icebreaker for my funeral. The beginning of the wake is already written for whoever is going to do the intro, which I think is the hardest part when I die. It's like, what happens with the estate? But what are we going to say at the funeral? It's like, don't worry, I'm taking care of that for you. And so I grew up in Van Meter, went to Van Meter K through 12. My main goal growing up in Van Meter was to leave, which turned out to be a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. There are several clearly marked exits for Iowa. You drive far enough in any direction and you're gone. I got into the University of Pennsylvania, so my dad gave me a list of schools that they would pay for, and Penn was on the list. I applied, I got in. I had never visited the school, never been there, and so enrolled to study history in the fall of 2000. When I enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania, I did not think that I would one day be selling t-shirts on the street. And I think when my parents sent me to the University of Pennsylvania, they also did not think I would be one day selling t-shirts on the street. My senior year, I was applying for a master's fellowship to go study international relations at the University of St. Andrews, which is kind of like a total BS degree. But I had spent a year abroad at St. Andrews, and my girlfriend lived over there. So it was really just an excuse to go and live with my girlfriend for a year and have somebody else pay for it. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, I think I'm long on confidence and short on practical planning. And so I applied for this really competitive fellowship, like a few hundred people apply, 4 get it. I was one of the 16 finalists, and you find out you're a finalist in December of your senior year. And so I thought, like, well, I'll be modest. There's a chance I'm not first, but I'm definitely in the top 4. So I didn't take my LSATs, I didn't take my GREs, I didn't apply for any jobs at all. And so February of my senior year, I was surprised to get a rejection letter. So then I sat and reevaluated my entire life. My rejection letter is one of the few things I've actually kept. So if you scroll down, there's the top of it. Yeah, it tells you you've not been selected. It then tells you the 4 people that got it, so you can Google them in 10 years and be like, I'm doing so much better than you. They also wished me good luck in what was to be a rewarding career, which when you go to Penn, you don't get a job. You're supposed to get a career with a business card. My career turned out to be selling t-shirts on the street. Seriously. A friend of mine came up and said, you know what we should do? We should sell not Penn State t-shirts. I was at the University of Pennsylvania, and obviously it's frustrating when people say like, oh, Nittany Lions. You're like, no, that's a different school. If you're at Penn, you already had to suffer the indignity of not getting into Yale or Princeton, and then having people confuse your school with a subpar Big Ten school is just like a real kick in the groin. So it had been a joke for years on campus. I actually had a not Penn State t-shirt from a store my freshman year. That store went out of business. My senior year, when you'd walk around with one of these shirts, every freshman and sophomore would stop you and be like, oh, where did you get that shirt? And you're like, it was a store, it went out of business, they don't have them anymore. And somebody's like, if they had that shirt, I would buy it. And you're like, yeah, they don't, leave it alone, I'm applying for a master's fellowship. And so then when my friend said, well, we should just make that shirt, stand on campus and start selling them, I thought to myself, yeah, I've got the next 5 decades of my life free, why not? And so he and I started selling t-shirts, and this kind of light bulb moment went off for me. And it sounds, as bizarre as it sounds, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I had always wanted to do something creative with my time. When I was in, high school at Van Meter, if you're mildly athletic and kind of intelligent, you're like a superstar. So I was obviously like captain of the football team, but was also in theater and improv. And my senior year, I did writing for City View when Connie Weimer still owned it, and so I did movie and music reviews. It was kind of like a Des Moines version of the movie Almost Famous. It's like I didn't get to travel anywhere, and the bands I interviewed weren't as cool, but and so I wanted to do something creative. When I was at Penn, I did a lot of writing, did some like film, did some acting, did a lot of artwork. But my parents, as like professionals, not like professional parents, that was their side gig. My mom's a mechanical engineer, my dad's an attorney, and so they would always say, well, how do you make money doing something like that? And it's not, the only thing in the world, but I don't know if everybody has seen It's a Wonderful Life, but when his angel comes down and he's like, I'm here to help you, George. He's like, you don't happen to have $40,000, do you? And the angel's like, we don't need money in heaven. He's like, well, it sure does come in handy down here. And so I found that money's not everything, but it sure does come in handy. And so when I started selling t-shirts on the street, the light bulb moment was, this is something that I could do, that I could actually monetize. I could run it myself. I could do everything from start to finish. There were no editors, there were no band members. And so friends started printing t-shirts for me. After a couple months of selling t-shirts on the street, I realized several important things. One, selling stuff outside in the wintertime sucks. This was January of 2005, and it was extremely cold, and you're selling t-shirts on the street.
You gotta mention your hat.
Yeah, and I had a bucket hat, with the top cut off. That was not a style at the time. That actually never took off. My kids are like, did everyone wear that? I'm like, no, just me. And I needed a niche market. And so I'm selling on the street, and I wanted to start printing t-shirts myself, and I wanted a niche market. And I bumped into a friend of mine from Des Moines. She was living out in New York, and she said, oh, you know what you should do? You should just move back to Des Moines and open up a store. And you get some advice at the right place at the right time. Because I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to do exactly that. A friend of mine from high school, his dad screen printed t-shirts. My parents still lived here. I kind of thought, I'm going to move back and just open a store. And my niche market is going to be ultra positive slogans about Des Moines. And so moved back home. A friend of mine taught me how to screen print. I slid into my old room. My mom had nicely left all my Rage Against the Machine posters up, so it was a smooth transition into my old bunk bed. I think she knew that I knew that deep down I'd be back one day and I'd like things just the way I left them. My brother's room got converted to a guest room, so I think they were like, he's going to get a job. Mike's room, we're going to leave that unchanged, just to see how it goes. Started printing in my parents' basement, and then you can scroll down a little bit more. I opened up, the original store was at the corner of East 4th and Locust, about a block from where we are now. Yep, so smash. So that was it, 1,300 square feet. I was the only employee for almost 3 years. So opened the store, closed the store, printed every shirt, rang up every sale, unclogged the toilet after you clog the toilet. You know who you are. You might be in this room right now. No, I don't see them. And after about 6 months of doing that, I was down to, let me see what the number was. Oh yeah, this was our main fixed asset. 4-head, 1-station screen press. And after 6 months of constant work, I was rich. Here, you can go down if you want to. No, actually, I was almost out of money. 2006, I'd been working at this constantly for 2 years and had less than $3,000 in the bank with no loans and like no line of credit, which was semi-demoralizing. A few things happened, and it has steadily grown since then. So to kind of give you just the basics, 2008 hired our first employees and expanded. 2009 we split into 2 companies. 2010 we opened in Iowa City. By 2015 we were breaking, or I guess 14 we opened in Kansas City, so we'd gone global. And then 2015 we opened in the building that we are in now. So it has not been one of those moments where we had like one viral hit. We're kind of like a hardworking indie band where we just kind of steadily grow. We're up to 10 locations, about $9 million in sales. There's about 120 people who work there. It is still, a fun place to work. I find it endlessly interesting to be inside of it. There are just kind of so many moments about it where I think to myself, like, God, if somebody had come down and told 16-year-old me that this is what I would be doing, and the people, just on Sunday night of this week, we were at like the Onion's launch party to start the DNC. And so if you had told me in the 90s that like, oh, the Onion is going to invite you to their party, and you're actually going to print all their merchandise, and they're going to look at you as like an equal in the world of humor, I would have been like, really? They're like, yeah. It's like, and who do I work for? It's like, you run your own company. It's like, I do? Do I make any money or am I poor? And it's like, no, you do great. You have like a house and stuff and a car. I'm like, that sounds fantastic. I'm like, I must be doing cartwheels all the time. And then future self is going to tell 16-year-old me, no, you're going to still be miserable half the time. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, it's just human nature. I'm like, oh, damn it. And so I try to step back oftentimes and, look at what I have and how it's gone, kind of what I owe to people. And it, never ceases to amaze me how I can stop and be, suppressed, like, not suppressed, impressed, also suppressed, I guess sometimes. Like a different type. Be impressed by how it's gone, but then, how much I owe to everybody around me. It's always funny when people are like, oh, you're like self-made. Like, it's just you. It's like, oh yeah. Upper middle class guy from supportive family and supportive town whose teachers, friends, and family always said, you're going to do great one day. Somehow succeeded in life. I don't think would be the best memoir. It'd be the most boring memoir of like supported child who had every opportunity succeeded. I should have almost written something if I had totally tanked or flamed out. So I always view Raygun as kind of this like thank you to the city and the area that I grew up in. And that the most impressive thing to me is that when I was born, the parking lot at East 5th and Grand was just a parking lot. And it, even by 1982, had been a parking lot for almost 30 years. They tore down a building that had been kind of a shoe store, and I think they thought they were going to build bigger and better, and then it never happened. And it remained a parking lot until Raygun came along, and we partnered with a local developer, and now there's a building there. Like what was once thin air, people can walk around inside of, and you are kind of a part of the community, a part of the experience. And I've always thought the store is kind of like a thank you to the city of Des Moines, kind of a demonstrative thank you to the city I grew up in that has to have debt constantly serviced. But what else would I do?
I do have a second question.
Follow-up.
So I used to sit next to this guy in school, maybe you were that guy, who would make the wisecrack, and then I would laugh and get in trouble with the teacher. Were you that guy that was always making wisecracks?
Yes,
in the back of the class?
And I always got in trouble. When I was in 6th grade, my 6th grade teacher took away something that I was drawing, and I told her that'll be worth money one day. I don't know if she kept it, like Mrs. Ellingson, if you're out there. Put that on eBay.
So tell us a little bit about the process. How does the process work to get the sayings on the shirts? Is it a committee, or are you the final arbiter? Tell us a little bit how that process works to come up with the what do you call them, the phrases?
Yeah, I guess slogan t-shirts. Yeah, we there's me and 3 other designers that kind of sit near each other on the mezzanine of the store. And we do all of our own production and design in-house. So if we wanted to, we could have a shirt done and on the store floor, in Des Moines anyway, within the hour, and it could be in every store by the next day. So we can kind of move as fast as we want. We're a little bit more like a media company dressed up as a t-shirt shop. So we have our days more or less planned out in terms of what we would like to do, but then if there's, quote, like breaking news that falls into our wheelhouse, we will talk about it in the morning, decide what direction we want to go, and then we may do something, we may not do something. So it kind of depends on like the day and the feel. We'll take ideas. We're connected to all the other stores through Slack, and so if you're any employee from the company can offer ideas. And obviously, like everywhere I go, people will offer me t-shirt ideas. So the general public will send stuff out, and then we're a little less like designers than we are air traffic controllers. I mean, we use 1 font and 3 templates, so you can design most of our stuff in Microsoft Word. So we're not really like pushing the boundaries of like art for art's sake, and which in general just speeds up the process. You don't have to worry as much about what the shirt is going to look like. You just worry about what phrases are going to be marketable. So that's kind of the short answer. And then it again just takes practice with time of what we think is going to do well. Our wheelhouse is funny, Midwestern, progressive, and so we never leave those 3 topics. And Midwestern is kind of the most important component of it for several reasons. And we just look for stuff that falls into those topics that we think we can sell to people, because it's hard to pay rent with just laughter.
What's the number one seller phrase, and what's one that you did that you regret?
Oh, one stuff that we regret. I don't know if we've had any major regrets. A lot of people, I mean, I guess sometimes you're bummed out when people don't buy it. Some people are like, everything in the store is so funny. How do you do that? It's like, because we get rid of the stuff that's not funny. We put stuff out, and if nobody buys it and laughs at it, we remove it from the store. It's like that, thank you for hit the sale rack, buddy. I don't know if there's been any real big surprises. When I first moved back in 2005, I was like thinking of a shirt to put out for a Saturday. So it's like a Saturday morning, I'm the only employee, and I'm like, maybe I'll put something new out because it's a Saturday. Like, really give this business thing a college effort. And so I remember typing Des Moines, and then wrote hell yes after it. And the joke was kind of built in that it's fine to be excited about Des Moines, but nobody should be that excited about Des Moines. That's the joke. You laugh if you see somebody walking down the street in New York, you're not really sure who the joke is on. Is it on them? Is it on you? And that's kind of, I think, when humor is done right. When it's, a slogan like Iowa wave the next time you fly over, you're not sure who the joke is on. Is it on us, or is it because of people thinking that this is flyover country? And the fact that people purchased the shirt made me think that I was like onto something, and that I had always thought that we, like Iowa especially, we always, whether it's like design, humor, everything, for whatever reason, dumb things down for ourselves. We never think that we are all going to get it. Whereas like growing up in, my mom's the oldest of 7, really funny family. It's a state that produced Johnny Carson. There was so much great humor I had growing up, but then the stuff that we would pitch to ourselves were just like corn and pig jokes. And so it wasn't the idea that I brought a more sophisticated humor to Iowa. It was that there was already this really sophisticated humor, but that we didn't think that other people would appreciate, even though we all appreciated it. I mean, it really is surreal when you think about it. And so it wasn't that we brought anything new, we just brought what already happened here into the mainstream. And the most surprising thing we get is when people are like, oh, I didn't realize there was humor like this here. And you're just like, well, a lot of the great, humorists of our time, whether it's like David Letterman, Johnny Carson, Mark Twain, are all from this region. And the guy who wrote the story that became the movie A Christmas Story, Gene Hammond, is from Indiana, and said, well, the Midwesterner is a born audience member. And then when you grow up here, you're used to kind of observing East and West as if you were on like the outside, which kind of predisposes you to being a like commenter on things that are going on. And so when we first did Des Moines Hell Yes, it made me think that there was like a future in what I wanted to do with the store here in general.
I almost wore that one, but I wore this one.
Oh yeah, is this heaven? No.
Instead, I do have Des Moines Hell Yes. I want to ask one more question. This is a business card. Then we'll open it up to questions from folks who are here today. So you've come a long way from the guy in the bucket hat with the top cut off in 20 years, and you are an entrepreneur. So what have you learned along the way about the business side of it?
Oh, wow. Learned about it is, on the one hand, as easy as it seems and also as hard as it seems. The place is an optical illusion in that people enjoy it, it's pop art, it's relatable because everybody can think of like funny slogans. Shipping isn't the most difficult thing in the world. Running a clothing store isn't the most difficult thing in the world. None of the individual tasks are particularly hard. What is difficult is doing them every single day, thousands of times a day, over several locations. It's like spinning 20 plates at once. If you're trying to get all these simple tasks, and there's just little hiccups. And so it's wild sometimes how simple it is, but also wild how difficult it is to implement anything so simple. It's when they say, oh, to lose weight, just eat right and exercise. And you're like, oh my God, only 2 steps. I'll be done with this in no time. But it's the implementation of those over and over again that's what's difficult. most people will focus on the phrases, and it's not, I'm not worried that we're ever going to run out of ideas. I mean, we have more ideas than we have time or money. The stuff that gets old is like the printer breaks again, or the shipment comes in and the mediums aren't there, or somebody doesn't show up to work. Those are the things that just kind of wear you down. It's not the big stuff, it's the little stuff. And that's the great equalizer, that you realize nobody is, well, a little bit. You're kind of competing with other people on the big stuff, but really it's competing with other people on how you can manage the little stuff. Who is going to most successfully slog through the same stuff that everybody has to slog through is what equalizes it. And so it's heartening because, you know, a majority of our directors don't have college degrees, which is like, no offense to college, but having graduated from Penn, I was like, well, this wasn't necessary. I mean, in terms of what I do now, I don't even need a high school degree. And so we don't put any emphasis on like training whatsoever. You don't have to have a graphic design degree to be a graphic designer at the store. Like, none of us have graphic design degrees. It's all kind of, what have you done for us lately? And whenever anybody starts, I'm like, the upper management of this place is the who's who of people who have kept showing up for decades. And so if you want to move up in the company, just keep working here and you'll be rewarded.
Cool. Let's open it up to questions. More questions?
Oh yeah, the newest member.
How did you come up with the name Reagan?
Oh, well, we used to be called Smash, and then somebody tried to sue us. I showed it to our lawyer at the time. There was a Smash in California. They sent us a cease and desist letter, and I was like, how does this look? He's like, not good. I was like, well, give me your sales pitch. How much is this going to cost? He's like, could be $4,000, could be $400,000. I was like, that's a hell of a range. Let's say I've got that laying around. Will I win? He's like, it's a 50-50 chance. And you're like, people sign up for litigation? I mean, it paid for my college, so thank God people kept suing each other and hired my dad to sue each other. Otherwise, I had more school debt than I anticipated.
What was Smash in California?
So it was, I think, a tennis company. We never really looked it up. But so we decided to change our name. I wanted a noun because it would come with its own logo. I wanted 4 or 6 letters so that you could split it across a zipper. Smash was 5 letters, so you had 3 here and 2. You had to add something over on this side, otherwise people would fall over if they were wearing a jacket. And then I wanted it spelled correctly because you could just tell somebody over the phone and they would know how to spell it. Of course, that doesn't really, because you'll say ray gun. And it's like, God, no offense to people, but it's like, could you spell it? It's like, could you spell it? There's literally no other way to spell it. You'd have to be using letters incorrectly. And every once in a while you'll get like Ray Don, and you're like, yeah, we named our company after a poisonous gas. The #1 cause of lung cancer. We just thought, well, it'd be great for search engine optimization if we named our company after a carcinogen. So Ray Gun was on the list, we looked, and we were able to trademark it, so we switched the company name to that. I often wish that there was a better story for why we named the company Ray Gun, like a toy that I had as a kid, or some hidden meaning, or just kind of like a Citizen Kane type moment. Yeah, like could be anything. But really it was just a practical solution to a problem that was out of our control. And then you have to kind of make up a reason for why you named the company Ray Gun, which obviously I've never gotten around to doing, otherwise I would have told you.
Yeah.
Like, as an old retailer, I applaud you for you could pick any t-shirt you want to print on, but you print on high quality merchandise. I mean, I have stuff from years and years ago that's still my go-to on the weekends then too, so I applaud you for that.
Oh, thanks.
Second of all, what's next?
Oh, I mean, we just try to stay liquid, really. As we grow, it's really difficult because growing the company is a part-time job on top of running the company, and it's like steadily growing and leveraging. There's just so many directions you can go into. That's what makes it what makes school easy is what it makes it frustrating, is that there's a set path and start and finish and you move through these ranks, but that can be frustrating if you don't want to move through those ranks. And what makes business interesting is what makes it frustrating, is that there's so many ways you could go through. If we could take on private equity and grow faster if we wanted to, but that would water down your control of the company. And so it depends on kind of what you want to get out of it and how you compare yourself to others and what metrics you're using to compare yourself and the company. And it's so difficult to tell who's up and who's down. Warren Buffett has this quote about, you never know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out. And you don't know what other companies are going through. You don't know where the market's going. All you have is kind of your experience and ability to make decisions. So right now we're in a pretty good spot and have the next few years more or less mapped out, which is the spot we like being in, but we'll see if it goes that way. In the December of 2019, we signed a lease for a space in Omaha, and we're like, we're gonna be open in April of 2020. And not only was our Omaha store not open in April in 2020, none of our stores were open in April of 2020. So my ability to see the future is extremely limited, I found out.
What is the ownership structure?
I'm the only managing member, so there's about 19% of the company is owned by non-managing members. So I sold almost 20% a few years ago. That was another time I almost ran out of money. People were like, what'd you take on investors for? It's like, because I needed the money. They're like, oh, but did you take it for other people's ideas or input or community connections? Like, no. Pretty much just the money. I didn't say to myself, it'd be great if I had like extra tax forms to pay for every year. I should take on investors.
Jackie and then Art.
Chris, I think you're being incredibly modest.
This is mine. This is not.
Oh yeah, Chris is my brother.
Oh yeah,
But
I know.
I was afraid I was going to do that.
You're being incredibly modest. Can you talk about how you thought about your role in Des Moines and in East Village and just in the causes that you support?
Yeah, we've kind of, I mean, this gets to even like the, Rotary in general of, we have talked about how where we want to be to community what Patagonia is to the environment. I think like the buzzword going forward for the future is like community. It's almost surreal when you look around and you see that the solution for a lot of people is just connections to other people in like a real way. But connections to other people have almost been supplanted by convenience. Whether, it's so convenient not to leave your room. My oldest is like 16, so we have 4 kids, which is more than you need, FYI. If anybody's thinking about it, like, when it's like 4 is probably, might have overshot a little bit. And so the oldest is 16, and it's funny because when, I was growing up, your main goal was just not be in your house. And it's not like you were doing anything all that interesting. So you wanted a permit as early as you could get it. You wanted a car as soon as you could get it. And then once you had a car, you would just hang out with your friends and like drive around. You go and like buy a CD or go to a movie. And I think now it's interesting how many kids kind of like spend time in their house. And a lot of that is like phone based since you can do so much like through your phone. It kind of tugs on these complex threads if you're not sure like where people's time goes. You have these things that have saved so much time, but then people are in clubs less than they used to be, they're in activities less than they used to be, and you're just kind of wondering what everyone is doing with this time that they don't have. And there's so few, community connections, and that the internet is obviously really handy, but it does mean that you can be a part of a national organization pretty easily, and that here's an interest group, and you could be a member of this interest group all the way down, and you're here, and somebody in Thailand is here, and somebody in the UK is here, and you're just like one-to-one connected with them. But when you have a whole geographic area and everyone is in these siloed interest groups, it means you end up being closer to people who are not geographically near you. And it makes for these kind of then odd communities where you're a member of a community in a certain sense, but not the physical community around you. And I've always liked the idea that the store is a physical space that people can walk into, just because I just think physical communities are, the great equalizer of everything. And so usually what we try to do is all locally based. We open up in urban areas so that we can be as close to other stores as possible. We focus primarily on small local organizations rather than national organizations. And all of that is to kind of make meaningful connections with the people around us. People think of the internet as having taken over now, but even in 2005, somebody said, what are you opening up a store for? The future is the internet. And my only answer was like, I don't know, I like people. I would rather be in a store seeing people all day than sitting in my room or in my office not being around people. A physical store is one of the only places where serendipity still exists, where who you see and what you see and who you meet is not controlled by the algorithm. As surreal as it sounds, most of what you see day to day is served up to you by the internet. Whereas the store, you don't know who's going to walk in. It is why it's so much more interesting, I think, to experience things in real life than online.
We're running tight on time. Art has the last question, according to you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do custom work where if somebody comes in with their own phrase and says, I need 150 by 30, and
Oh yeah, well today's Thursday, so that's gonna be a tight schedule. But no, we do lots of custom printing organizations. That's like that's maybe 25% of the business. And so another way to kind of connect with the community is you have like the retail stores, but then also providing services like that to other people. Yeah, I don't know. It has been a fun way to pass 20 years of life, I suppose. It's like, God, I can't believe it's that long. 20 years, one job.
Yeah.
It's a short resume.
Round of applause for Mike Twain. For Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mike. You are making Des Moines the great place that you're a part of making Des Moines the great place that it is. And yeah, so thank you for all you do, and thanks for your great presentation today. We have a number of upcoming exciting things that we want to share with you. First of all, our next meetings. We got the state chief economist next week. We have the CEO of ChildServe, and we've got a really interesting, Dave can tell you more about it, story about from an author, Disaster at 39,000 feet. You'll hear more about that shortly. I'm tight on time.
It's the jetliner crash over Iowa that you've never heard of.
Next Tuesday is our next fuel. So our own Paul Schickler, former CEO of DuPont Pioneer, will be our keynote member for discussion on that, for that coffee, 9 to 10, Freedom Blend. It's a time to grab a cup of coffee, enjoy conversation with your Rotarian friends, have another opportunity to socialize and learn from one of our very successful members. We've got another one September 17th, and coming up on the week of September 23rd, we're not going to be here, but there's two opportunities to get together. The first is there is a multi-club committee that's hosting the 8th annual event of bringing Rotarians together. And thanks to Carl Schilling, who is our representative, right, into that group. And the program is around human trafficking. So it'll be at the West Des Moines Hilton Garden Inn, $25 per person, and you can register with Kitty. More details are in a handout in the lobby. Then on September 26th, we talked about our Thank Fall event. This is our second annual. It's at the Chester Park Nature Center at 5 to 7. We'll have barbecue from What You Smokin'. We'll have live music. You bring family, you bring friends. We had a great time last year. Guarantee you it'll be fantastic. 5 to 7, September 26th on Thursday instead of our normal meeting. So, bringing this to a close, here's our high-level strategic initiatives for this year. Since we had Bill, I just want to emphasize the membership. Please reach out to Bill, become a member of his committee. It's not a heavy lift, but you're just going to help him get connected to other organizations and other people here so that we can do this together and not do it on an individual basis. Thanks to all our guests. Mike, thank you very much for your presentation. We are adjourned.